Admiral. First on Wagner, can you talk about what sanctions are on the table against North Korea, given the fact that you've already identified them as supporting Wagner?
I don't have anything to report right now in terms of specific sanctions. That's why today we brought it up to the panel of experts on the UNSC Resolutions Committee, and we'll see where that conversation goes. But we're certainly not going to rule out the possibility for additional sanctions if that's deemed fit inside the UN.
Secondly, on the tanks, can you just help us understand how badly Ukraine needs these advanced battle tanks right now, or is it not time sensitive?
No, it's absolutely. We recognize that it's a need, a relevant and critical need for the Ukrainians. So, pardon me for repeating myself, but I think it's important to remember what kind of fighting we're talking about here. It's rough terrain and it's open ground, a lot of it in the Donbass. I've described it a bit like Kansas, a lot of farmland, and mostly towns and villages that are not that big, not major industrial cities. And so when you're fighting in an area like that, and we fully expect, the Ukrainians fully expect, that the fighting in the Donbass will continue here for weeks and months ahead, combined arms maneuver, which is a fancy way of saying that you want to be able to maneuver on the ground quickly, effectively, with enough firepower against adversary ground forces. And so these vehicles, all of them, I know we're fixated on tanks, and I get that, but it's not just tanks. I mean, the Bradley fighting vehicles, which are they're tracked vehicles, they kind of look like a tank, but they're not. They don't have the same firepower as a tank. And these Strikers, which are 8-wheeled vehicles, but also they're very nimble, they're very fast, and they can deliver infantry troops on an open battlefield with much greater speed than if they didn't have those kinds of vehicles. And they are protected, they're armored. That's why we stress the armor capability here. Tanks also provide an ability to move efficiently around a battlefield, but of course they have much more firepower. And so it's perfectly understandable why President Zelensky, facing what he's facing in the Donbass and expecting to face those same threats going forward in coming weeks, would want some tanks, additional tanks. It's not like he doesn't have any, but additional tanks to support his offensive and defensive operations in that particular part of the country.
Given what you just said, because the talks failed in Germany, does that change the U.S.'s position on sending the M1 Abrams at all?
I don't know that I would describe talks as failing in Germany.
Not progressing to the sense of,
I mean, if you're talking about the Ramstein meeting, I mean, my goodness, there was an awful lot of contributions coming out of today's contact group, and a lot. And a lot of it had to do with the kinds of capabilities, armored included, and artillery that the Ukrainians have been asking for the fight that they're in. Look, when it comes to the Abrams tank, we've said we're going to continue to talk to the Ukrainians about their needs, and we're going to continue to meet them as best we can, and we'll do that. I don't have any decisions with respect to additional capabilities or systems like the Abrams to talk to today, but we're in constant communication with the Ukrainians about that. The Abrams is a powerful system. There's no doubt about it. It's also very expensive to operate, very expensive to fuel, very expensive to maintain, and it requires a lot of training. So there's a lot that goes into that when we are talking about what we're going to do to support Ukraine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat.